So that's all I was looking at, is what's the percentages? Is it 95-5, is it 80-20?
So the figures that are in the treasury, state treasury, aren't going to tell us that.
No.
We're just going to have to go back to the original
I
numbers.
think we're gonna have to go back to.
When you go back to the original numbers, did you look at that file of what it was making?
Yes,
Nothing.
right. Yeah, I noticed that too. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh,
Well,
it's
now
okay to make
now
money.
it's back to 5.
Oh,
And I hate to say it, but hold on. Because I think it's
I've been watching. I've been watching
Lavatory.
West Stocks.
Yeah.
They're not performing well.
well,
But these guys, these guys are money makers, so that's their job, is to watch this stuff, and they adjust it.
It looks good.
Okay, so
Just make it
so many goofy
more wild if you want to.
exactly.
Okay.
We don't have clocks here anymore.
I got 6:57.
I trust this.
Yeah, that's about as accurate as it gets.
That's one of the few things in life I trust. Oh, I just put ball.
Now, there's a mute. See that icon there?
Yes.
Speaker. That means it's on mute. Just click it once. Oh.
Okay.
Don't long press it. Just to click.
It's gonna get a little controversial.
Okay, it's on mute. Yep, good.
Controversial.
You have enough room, Stephen?
Yeah.
Pardon me? Jen. Jill's here. Oh, where's Stephen? Oh, we don't have. Okay, we're gonna start a minute early, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to the new City Hall. We're glad to have you all. This will be the first event of any kind other than the people who work here every day. Not only does Harrington have a new City Hall, but Harrington also has a standalone library. So I challenge any of you and all of you to go visit our library and see the changes that have been made there and are going to be ongoing. I think they're only open 2 days a week at the present. Is anybody here from the library? No. I believe it's Tuesdays and Thursdays still, but don't hold me to that. It's on the door. Please check it out and keep an eye on it. It's going to be changing also. So Harrington is moving up and onwards. So our meeting, we're going to start at 6:59. We'll start off first with roll call. Council Position 1, Joe Armand.
I am here.
Council Position 2, David Budrus.
Present.
Council Position 3, Stephen Hardy.
Present.
Council Position 4, Chris Moritz.
Here.
And Council Position 5, Levi Shank. Not as of yet. So, if the people in the audience would like to be put on the minutes, please let the clerk know your name, and we'll get you down that you were visitors. Okay? You don't want to be listed, Janice?
Oh, just on the minutes?
Yeah.
I don't wanna see it. Janice
Okay, Janice Meads. Troy Crawford.
Sherry McClellan.
Sherry McClellan. Paul Dion from Sunshine. Thank you. Gavin Wagner. And that'll do it for our guests. Thank you all for coming. The first thing on our agenda tonight is we're going to have an update given by Cindy Haase on the status of the town square and where it's at. There you go, ma'am.
Seriously?
Your first stop, you're on.
So, the town square is moving along good. We've had some,
great progress with it, as you can well see. Our hired manager, Cody Philby, has been working hard to get volunteer days, work days, to get things going. Had some businesses, Highline Grain, came in with a group of people and helped out on one day and got quite a bit done. There's still obviously more stuff to be done. I handed the estimates out as far as where we are on budget-wise, as far as further expenses, not including the sidewalk. Those are estimates. I'm not sure about the rock and the delivery. That might be just the expense as far as the rock itself. I haven't had a chance to talk to Cody. So obviously, we're gonna have more work days, and hopefully all can participate to be able to do that. The chamber did put in for the Lincoln County EDC grant that was recently done, and we actually were awarded the full $10,000 for Harrington Town Square project. So we were awarded that additional $10,000, which will be put towards doing the sidewalk and the concrete pad and such for the bathroom that is there. Her cost estimate is at $2,500. What I have as far as budget-wise goes, the town that I have marked down is $5,721.66. That has already been paid in through brick donations and other things that we had. We had another grant that was applied, which some of those funds have already been utilized. Our Innovia funds that are still in count are $6,516.77. So the total between the town and the Innovia right now is at $12,238.43. I do have also in that town budget was included a $900 worth of bricks that had recently been purchased. So engraving fees need to be paid out of those. I believe it's about $20 per brick that was done, so roughly about $200 would be reduced from that, leaving a balance of $12,038.43. And then with the grant recently awarded of the $10,000, so we're at a full budget for the finishing product of the lot is $22,038.43. So that's where we're at. You can see the timeline that she had. Obviously, the brick path has to be laid. We're looking at getting the estimate updated for the concrete. At the time when it was last done, it was just under $10,000. So we'll have to see where that comes in, because obviously that is an old estimate at this point that was given to us. So we'll have to see where that goes. So it has been mentioned that rather than doing concrete within the gazebo area, we have enough bricks that we may extend the brick path into the gazebo area to save on funds for concrete in order to finish the sidewalk and do the pad at the other part. So if we have that, if that is needed to be done, then that's what we'll do. So we'll see how that works out. So there's a timeline as far as where she wants to go, as far as laying the bricks. The edging will be done after the fact. The concrete pads will also need to be done for each of the 5 benches that need to be done. And then the idea was, original idea was to do beauty bark in the thing, but after discussing it further, the wind in this area, it would not work well. So the idea is to do river rock in there, which would hold much easier. It's undetermined whether it would be beneficial to put down the weed paper first, and if that does need to be done, then there's quite a bit more prep to the ground that has to be done prior to that weed paper going down. Then the river rock would be laid. Once that rock is then laid, then the concrete would be able to be completed and all that. And once the concrete is completed, then the project is finished. So really we're down to finishing the path, possibly moving into the gazebo area with the bricks, and then the weed paper, the rocks, and then the concrete. And then the project will be finished. Any questions? One.
I know we talked about having that survey to find out where the curve is going.
The sidewalk.
Since that all belongs to us,
Yes?
do we have to have that survey?
I was not aware that it needed to be surveyed. It was gonna be placed as where the previous sidewalk was placed.
Yeah. It's all ours anyway, so.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
It will follow the path of the old one.
the old one's right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, the old one on this side is not there, but it will follow the curvature of the existing one going north and south, and then will follow through east and west.
Who have you contacted for doing the sidewalk again?
I would have to, what is the name? Okay, so Chris Christensen was the original one that we had spoke to. At this point, we've not been able to get an updated estimate from him. We are also looking at other contractors, concrete contractors.
Any questions for Cindy? Thanks so very much for coming and taking time to bring us up to date. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So appreciated.
Thank you, Cindy.
At any time in the future, if you have any further questions, feel free to contact me.
Not gonna stay for the rest of the festivities?
It doesn't pertain to me.
We may
Sorry.
have questions.
Have a safe drive home.
Grab a cookie before you go.
No.
I only licked the ones on the corner, so. There's some grapes there and fruit too, Cindy. You bet. Okay, next thing on our agenda is sunshine disposal. I'm not quite sure whether we want to allow Paul to speak first, or anybody wants to bring up any of the questions.
We gave him a list of questions. Maybe he should get an opportunity to say what he wants to say first.
Okay, I
Make
have
your
no
sense.
problem with that. Paul, does that suit your?
That'll work for me. I could just quickly read off the questions that were submitted by council.
Is anybody having any hearing difficulties in here?
May I have an agenda?
Yes, you may. They're sitting right there on the table when you walk in.
Would you like to give a vote?
Yeah, the microphone's what allows us to have the recording of this stuff.
So, if you don't wish to, you can leave it right there.
That'll get me more hands free. That'll work. So, like I said, I was sent several questions. I'll just kind of tally these off and give you the answers that I do have and more information to go with it. Councilmember Armand sent, if we were to go to Sunshine taking over the garbage entirely, is there a minimum number of households or businesses you would expect to service in Harrington? What if that number falls below that, your threshold? There really is no set number. The ordinance requiring garbage still stays in place and so forth in the town that already exists. And, anything, if people fall off or stop service or whatever for a period of time outside the realm of the ordinance, then we would just submit those to the city for code enforcement. But there is no set number in those. I do expect with the dumpsters that there would be a large number of people that would shift from dumpster to toter. I'm expecting some of that in the number that we would submit. What would Sunshine Disposal's transition strategy look like? We already have all the stops in our routes, the system's all set up and ready to go. It's just a matter of changing the pricing for whatever agreement we work on in a contract negotiation. That part's easy. We do bill on a quarterly basis, so and I'm under the impression the city bills monthly. So there would be a transition there. We would have to work out the timing. Is it end of month billing or is it mid-month? Okay, so that works out perfect.
It comes out first for the previous.
Okay, so that works out for us. We could just time our billing to take over at a certain point, and then all the payments from customers would remit their old invoices to the city until you're paid off, and then anything future would come to us. We would send out all the communications, the bills, and so forth there. There's no operational implementation or changes expected at all. All the cans are already there. Again, if there's some people that change their subscription levels based on pricing or whatever that's submitted, then we just take care of that as people call in.
So you'll be responsible for switching out totes and,
That's how we've been talking about it.
okay,
You know, we might ask to be able to maybe store a few cans down here just like we have been, but I think we could take care of all that for you
yeah.
and not have to, the city wouldn't have to necessarily, run that for us anymore. It's a great blessing to have had it, but I think if you guys are looking to get out of garbage, it seems like we should just handle it for you.
Right. I don't think I have a problem with any stockpiling any, but the garbage can.
Yeah, just inventory for that sort of thing.
For the
Can't talk
record,
about
Yeah.
garbage.
Councilman Budris would like to store the garbage in his house.
Full cans, right?
That way up by the golf course.
Next question was, if implemented, and please stop me if there's any questions at all. If implemented, what is the typical additional cost to offer recycling to the Harrington citizens? That has a lot of questions that I would have of the city to answer. There are so many different ways to provide recycling service. Oftentimes people ask if they want, they're looking at curbside pickup. Is that what we're after? Or is it a drop box of some sort with separated bins where you put in cardboard? Or is there, maybe sometimes some cities bail cardboard that citizens take to them and then we find a home for it. I mean, there's a lot of different nuances to that.
Is there any cities right now currently with a receptacle for like glass or paper on curbside?
Outside of the metro area?
Yeah, rural area that you can think of?
Not that I can really think of.
Okay.
I mean, Airway Heights is probably your closest municipality. The county area around Airway Heights, which we service also has curbside recycling there. It's tough to get out this far and make it economical for folks.
Okay.
The Smart Center is charging $119 a ton or $150 a ton disposal cost on recycle right now, whereas garbage is going across the tip at $112 to $120. So it's actually more expensive to get rid of recycle at the disposal sites anymore.
Kind of counterproductive, isn't it?
So it sounds to me like you're not recycling if you're dumping garbage and paying to dump it as garbage.
If we're given recycle, we take it as recycle and we do the responsible thing with it. We make sure it gets recycled. There's just a fee that goes with that.
We give the county all our recycling, we tell them where we're down.
Well, I think you used a word there that's
Give.
definitely out of place. There's no giving. We pay handsomely for that service.
Oh, you pay.
You pay for that.
We,
Everybody in
we
this
give,
town pays
we
for that.
pay.
The city pays for that.
We get no reimbursement.
No?
I would love to take my recycling and get 33 cents a pound or whatever.
So where do you get that? I haven't heard
We
of any
gotta go
place
to
that even
Spokane.
takes aluminum anymore.
Yeah, you gotta go to Spokane.
The recycling you're talking about, is it cans or paper or what?
There's a lot of different ways to build it. In town, the curbside program has got paper, plastics, aluminum cans, and tin that's commingled into it. and that's the stuff, that's the residential mix that the Smart Center charges $150 a ton for, currently. Now, sometimes there is a market for it depending on the season or, the markets, it's all in flux, right? We haven't seen, for commingled material, we haven't seen a rebate on anything for some time. Cardboard that is clean, you can
Yeah,
find a
well,
market
in the
for it.
rural communities, we can't get, any benefits from trying to be environmental,
It's very, very
or
tough.
whatever.
You're right.
It's always nice to have a cash incentive for people to do the right thing.
Well, the question is, from what it sounds like, if you wanted all these items, every house that wanted it would have a 4 or 5 cans sitting out there. But
On the high side,
we have, are you familiar where, down here off of, whatever, Glover or Linden, thank you. Linden Street, we have some recycle bins,
From,
cardboard, paper.
from Lincoln County,
Yeah.
right?
Would you have something like that? if
We
it-
do have those.
Okay,
I've got 4 boxes sitting ready to go
okay.
if we ever set up something like this anywhere in our service area. They're basically seed bins inside of a roll-off dumpster, and yeah, I mean, there's definitely a way to negotiate that in if the city wishes.
So if there's provide a service, you're to provide for everybody, you can also, the citizens wouldn't lose anything for the ability to dump their stuff off like they used to now.
Everything's negotiable, I would say. There's benefit to the citizens, maybe not so much in the recycling itself, but in the volume that you're moving from your garbage can to the recycling. There might be some ability to downsize your garbage can based on your new volume needs if you can take out that recycling.
Well, I disagree with that, because you always pay the same rate for your garbage every month. So you're not benefiting at all with it.
Well, if you start out with a
What you
90
need
gallon
to
can.
do is give the citizens a cash benefit for recycling.
I don't know if I can do that.
Well, no, you can't, but
Um,
the bigger powers that be, can maybe put that together.
Well, certainly Olympia that's forcing that protocol down everybody's
Olympia.
throat, yeah.
Yeah, I should have known.
And it's not gonna get any easier because there are initiatives at the Capitol that are pushing down recycling to certain areas. Harrington would probably be spared some of those requirements,
Mandates.
those mandates. The other one is organics. So, and that was actually the next question is like, is there a green waste program available?
Well, we already have a green waste. We put it in the dumpster, the town takes it, and does what they do.
And maybe that's the most economical variation for the city. It could very well be. We, again, if it's a curbside that we're looking, or if was there a roll-off box in town or something that would be taken to Bartek? Did I hear the rumor correctly on that one?
Maybe it's 20 now, we gotta figure it out.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
And is the question focused on possibly replacing that service?
It's kind of what the idea is, while we're asking all the questions, let's just throw it all on the table. So,
I hadn't considered that personally, but I'm not a council person.
Well, that was the whole point of me coming here,
That
so I could
cost us
tailor a proposal,
$150
yeah.
to have that dumped,
How much?
150. Plus they charge us a minute fee on it.
Per
Okay.
month or
And we
week?
dump that every week,
Week.
at least once a week.
And then,
There was times we were dumping it twice a week.
is that just the
because-
service?
Because we fall under the Apple Magic quarantine, which is another mandate from the above that says we can't transport any green waste grown in this county outside the county,
Oh,
which
I
is why
forgot
we
about that.
pay for a green waste dumpster, so that people can do it, and burning is another problem.
So is it $150 for the haul and then on top of that, you have to pay like rent on the box, and then disposal on the material or anything like that.
Nope, just
$150 bucks.
It's an amazingly good price, actually.
Don't we have a rent fee on that too?
Yes, not very much.
I could certainly give you a price as part of this, and then for consideration.
Just
I mean, there's other little nuances. Some of these services you could always socialize across the rate, and they would be taken care of as part of this, as part of the service to the city. There are ways. So, the next email, Councilmember Stephen. Per container, what would Sunshine's rates be for citizens when taking service directly from Sunshine? I'm here to get the council's feeling on how they would like the proposal built and what they would like to see in it. My hope in my back of the napkin is that the residential customers, especially on what the city bills, they wouldn't see very much of a shift, if any, at all. My hope is none at all, once we get all this tallied together. I really truly feel that the commercial customers with the dumpsters are going to experience some measures of sticker shock.
So just to be clear, when you say you wouldn't expect there to be any, are you aware of our current rates?
Distantly, I haven't seen the exact.
Okay. I would say,
top left.
for the benefit of all involved, there may be an asterisk to your statement.
There may be. My goal.
And that's totally fair. I just want to make sure for what the information that leaves this room, that may not have been a statement that had all the numbers attached to it. And I respect your goal, and I would certainly, as close as we can get to that, would be wonderful.
So the left-hand column is what the customer sees on behalf for garbage
Yeah,
service?
432, 64, 96, yeah.
Okay.
Because it is public knowledge that the city has been subsidizing garbage to the tune of about 20 grand per year. So if you can do it for those rates, that would be wonderful.
That'd be super, wouldn't it?
Would it be great? Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think you can. Yeah.
We're gonna have to raise it
However,
anyways.
it's,
Exactly.
all things considered, it won't move as much as you would be afraid of, I suppose.
Because
I think, for the 64 gallon, again, this is my back of the napkin at the moment. I'm thinking that we're right around $30, somewhere in that market and then the city is currently charging 20. And the other thing is I don't know what the utility tax is in the city, what percentage it is. If city no longer has that overhead, there might be some offset to the customer's payout. And maybe the city doesn't need that whole utility tax potentially, if there is one.
20%.
I think I just saw an enrollment. I
was
think the last one was 14%.
And we also pay B and O tax.
What's
The city pays B and O tax on garbage, because we pay that and we pay you.
Some
and-
excise, yeah.
So we would lose that B and O tax.
we would lose having to pay it.
Correct.
Yeah,
It would go out of our, go
That's
away
right,
from
that
that
would
base.
not be revenue that's going through the books.
That's right.
Yes, that's not bad.
So there might be some offsets there that may soften the blow for citizens or for ratepayers.
So you see
Or-
what's being charged for a dumpster right now.
Uh-huh.
And you mentioned that those who have commercial dumpsters, and I'm guessing you're talking 3 yard or more,
2 yard.
2 yards and
Yeah.
up, so 2, 3.
Although you have 1 yard in your rates too, so
Yeah.
it would include 1 yards also.
There's several of those.
You have, Harrington has because of the pricing that's there, Harrington has one of the highest percentages of steel dumpsters of any township I've seen, anywhere, in my 20 years. That rate is very, very generous and heavily subsidized by either the city or the residential ratepayers or both.
So if you wouldn't mind, and I understand, and again, for the benefit of anyone listening here, this is back of the napkin math. Not holding you to this. This is not a number but because you said for the 65, around $30. The resolution that we crafted last meeting for 65, we were looking at 28.48. So we're in the same ballpark.
Understood.
Ish. 90 gallons, where do you think you'd be? We have a lot of 90. It's
92,
pretty.
96.
The 90
96.
or 96?
96.
96. We were very predominant on that garbage can size right now.
We're in the neighborhood of 35.
Okay.
Again, back of the napkin at the
Yep.
moment.
And 1 yard dumpster?
That I did not bring with me on
Okay,
accident.
that's fine.
Apologize.
Comes pretty close.
Yeah, so I think a critical part of this, because it could be perceived, if we do get out of garbage and we go to Sunshine, there will probably be a feeling among some that the city got out of garbage, we gave it to Sunshine, and Sunshine jacked up our rates. Want to be very clear here, and everyone who's listening online or is here in person is accountable to this knowledge. Rates were going to go up around the same amount, whether the city stayed in the middle of it or not. Rates going up majorly has nothing to do with the transition to Sunshine. If your numbers do end up, when we get past the back of the napkin math, if they end up in the same range, it has nothing to do with this transition. Just want to make that comment for the record.
Can I also add further? If I were using these rates as my template, if I were using these and I was pricing out something for myself and I was, the 1 yard alone would be $114 a month. And I did that, which is, it's roughly 6 times the 32 gallons worth of volume. So your 19 times 6 is where I would get your steel dumpster. And I would start there. So that's, again, where the sticker shock, I think, is going to come also. That's where the conjecture is coming from also.
Yep.
So in talking to the garbage man today, he and I spent about a half hour together. He says normally, when people have dumpsters, they are charged $60 to dump a 1 yard dumpster
Each time.
each time. In this city, we rent you a 1 yard dumpster for under $100, and that's all we charge you. And you can put anything in it you want, within reason. We say no building materials. There's a couple businesses that have filled them full of grain from one end to the top,
Which
the
barely
guy-
gets lifted up by the truck.
Yes, this morning he told me, he says, I don't know what you wanna do about that. Well, I can't do anything about it. Obviously, they don't do that 52 weeks a year. Right now they do it, cause there's grain all over this town. But he said, when I dump their dumpster today, there's going to be grain everywhere, cause it falls out of the truck, every move I make. And he said, I can't change that.
It sloshes, it's almost in liquid state because and you're right, it does
Until the
slosh.
garbage gets enough garbage to push it up and it stays in the canister in the tank.
Well, and in this model, we manage the disposal overages. So there's no penalty, it's all blended together and we eat that.
So is that a true statement? If I rent a 1 yard dumpster from you and we decide to go to Sunshine, you will charge me every time it's dumped?
That is totally on how we set this up. We can bill a normalized, in fact, the way I would do it is if you're picked up weekly and and we have weekly service and that's what's the rates that are selected by the city, then it's a monthly rate. You just pay for the whole month, and whether it's 4 pickups in a month or whether it's 5 or whether it's 3, depending on the month, that it's the same rate. And if you cancel service in the middle of it, it gets prorated by the number of days that you had the service for.
So it's 52 weeks a year, 52 times a year, you're going to pick those up.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yep.
And you're not gonna charge somebody who rents a dumpster to pick it up, you're gonna charge them whatever rate you come up with. Okay.
That is exactly right.
Do you see the equipment to weigh these as each one is individual? I know that
I've tried
technology's out
that.
there.
tried that in other areas, namely Ferry County. It, for the amount that you pay on scales, the return on your investment is like forever. So, I mean, the last time we put scales on a rear loader was $18,000. So generally, we just build a rate where we think we shoot for where we think the disposal is going to end up in, and we put it in there. And then, so a piece of the rate is built and it's got disposal in it, and it's built on what we settle on here. Once we settle on it, it's in there. And the only way to raise the disposal component of that rate is if the county raises their tip fee. So like if they say, hey, 5%, well, that piece of your rate will go up 5%. It's
Pass along.
yeah, be a pass along, pass through. Right. And then the other piece is the piece that's subject to the other.
We've had reports that this isn't close enough.
Understood. I get, can't be hands-free anymore.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay. Oops, I skipped down. How do we bill? Do you accept credit cards or have an online portal? Again, we bill quarterly. Do you accept credit cards? Yes. Do you have an online portal? Yes. We also have auto billing if you wish to have that set up, so that you don't have to call it in every month. There's also electronic billing, so you don't have to get a paper invoice if you don't wish. Would there be options to dump garbage every other week? Everything's negotiable. I don't. The tricky thing with that one is, we're driving through the whole town, every road, every street, every day. I don't know how much that actually saves, but anything's possible. If the city would like, I don't know how many people would actually use that service either.
It wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, I mean, during certain times of the year, it might create, nuisances and so forth. But it is present. Like the county, their dumpsters, they have up to a monthly option on their dumpsters. So, but I generally inside city limits, they try to get the garbage out of here so it doesn't become what they call a vector, a nuisance or a smell odor issue or anything like that. Those were the questions that were submitted.
So what do you need from us tonight? So we can either motion or vote.
Yeah. If I may have a copy of these rate structures, that would be good, just to know whether we're in the target zone. And to ask the city if there's anything, and it doesn't have to be answered tonight, it can be submitted. If there's anything that they would like to see built into the rate, like, any city services. I'm thinking like sometimes the city puts their dumpster as part of the rate, and we just blend that into the rate kind of deal, so that there's no bill being remitted back to the city. That's some option that people choose. Sometimes there's litter receptacles around town. You have to pick up what we call street cans. I don't think there are any in town, but if you ever chose to add them, you could. And then the recycling and yard waste options, we could always leave as an open-ended item and allow room in a contract to negotiate on those items as they become hotter topics. So that's really all I really needed.
So you need us to put together a little bit of a plan or a list. and
A wish list.
A wish list, exactly.
Mhm.
How long after that?
I've got everything built already for an as-is deal, so it's just a matter of plugging those in. It does not take me long, maybe a week or two, to get it approved through the boss of the owner of the company, and then out to you.
Well, I can speak for myself and go down the table. I'd say the only thing that I would note to that is just that we had talked about in the resolution we formed last week only offering a 1-yard dumpster for residential. Commercial is open. Past that, my 2 cents is just do it straight and simple. Bill the city for our own garbage usage so that we can feel the impact of that. And I worry that if we built our garbage usage into the overall rates, that we would be less attentive to the amount of garbage and stuff that's happening at the park. I think we should feel the pain of that payment so that we can be aware of how much, and we can quantify. Otherwise, if we don't have that bill for we're paying that much for the park and stuff, we won't know how much we're putting on the citizens to do that over and over again. If we get the bill, we can say this is what it costs to run city garbage. But that's just my 2 cents. David, what do you think?
Well, I do like the idea of handing this off to you folks that are in the business of doing this. And again, either way, the rates are gonna have to go up. We've been eating it for a number of years. And, I'm not opposed to, just bill us, the city, what we use, straight across the board. I personally don't care if somebody has a 1.5 or whatever they want, they're paying for it. So I'm not opposed to dumpster. I mean, whatever the customer wants. If it's too expensive, they're gonna obviously go to a tote or whatever, so. So that's where we differ on that one.
Chris?
As far as having a can, like down at City Park or behind the office, where we're behind this office, I can see people that would be dumping their garbage in that if it was too big. But other than that, I was the one that came up with the idea, because when I was a kid, that's what we did, is my mom and dad paid the garbage company for the garbage that they collected. So, and losing $20,000 a year in fees that we're subsidizing the people in the town, I think that we can come to somewhat of an agreement.
I only got my can, 90-gallon garbage for 1 can.
Say that again, Tim?
I dump my 90-gallon garbage can once a month. I get charged every week.
Is that something that could be addressed, that you bill as per service? Kind of like I think you mentioned earlier, like in the county and stuff, it comes once a month, or,
Situationally, I think we could put stuff like that in, or, that we could potentially encourage a downsizing of the can to a 32-gallon can. I think there's options that we could put into it.
the only problem I see with dumping it once a month is that it leaves it up very subjective to the driver. He sees half full, normally common sense, he would dump it. Is my only problem with that.
Well, and there are people who just don't put it out.
Well, does it make sense you're paying for it? If there's you only put one garbage sack in there a month?
No, I fill my can up once a month.
Okay, but the guy not all cans are full
Well,
when he
you
dumps
keep-
it.
you keep
So what, I don't know what
records.
you're
You
asking.
keep records, the garbage drivers keep records.
That's a lot of extra
No,
mumbo
it's
jumbo.
not. He has a clipboard with a list.
I don't think
Every
that's something you're
garbage
gonna
can's
wanna
got
get
a
into.
number on
Well,
it, okay?
the way it currently works is if we tip a 32-gallon or a 90-gallon can, regardless of how much is in it, it's 90 gallons worth of service that the customer is subscribed to. It's on a subscription basis, so they just pay the rate for the subscription, regardless of how many times they set it out. Now, we better darn well take a picture of it when it's not out, so that there's a record of whether we do or not. But you're paying the monthly rate regardless. We're driving by and.
Based on honesty.
Mhm.
Chris, do you have a feeling about the dumpsters?
No, I don't think so. Again, if somebody in town has got a dumpster, I'm not paying for my garbage, I can go and put my garbage in their dumpster, you know. I'm just thinking of all these different things
Only
that
at
could
night.
happen. Yeah, only at night, yeah.
Never happens.
I drive around town looking for a dumpster that wasn't full.
Joe?
I think it's an opportunity for everything to get equalized and move forward. And especially listening to the Papernack numbers and knowing where the direction we were headed. Things were gonna change, and this does clean up a lot of issues, and equalize it across the board for all the citizens. And yeah, they're gonna make some adjustments. I would just encourage everyone that's, listening, or those that aren't listening but hearing about this, that if you're not filling up your garbage can every week, then change. So, then change.
Change what?
Change your can. Change the size
Yeah.
of your can.
Take a smaller can.
Take a smaller can.
That doesn't make any difference either.
It's cheaper.
Well, there are those of us who don't.
Well, no.
I mean, if with a 32 gallon, you can fill
Well,
it
yeah.
every week.
Say that again, Sherry?
If I had a 32 gallon, I wouldn't fill it every week. I don't get enough trash.
Stuff.
Because I take my recycling stuff, which is aluminum, to the county. Okay, I don't get a dime for that. I'm just being good service. All right, I'm giving my Lincoln County bucks. All right,
So Joe, do you have a feeling on the dumpsters?
I have my feelings personally, but they're not relevant to the operation of the city. So no, if somebody wants and pays for a dumpster, just do so.
So that's 3 of the 5, so I just strike the dumpster limitation.
Understood.
Levi?
To my way of thinking, if we are giving this to Sunshine, the city is washing their hands of it, that's Sunshine's business. I couldn't care less.
Well said.
And the bad debt comes with it too, right? So, and we manage that. And we just integrate that all in.
No offense in that.
Oh, I don't. I perceive none. I would be thinking, I do want to come up with the absolute best program for you guys, or for the city, and so this is all valuable information.
All of due respect to Sunshine, why wouldn't we deal with Lincoln County?
They don't pick up.
They don't do that anymore?
I don't think they ever did.
They never, okay, all right. Good. Thanks.
Well, we will take good care of you. Continue to take good care of you.
And we appreciate that.
Yes, very much.
Mr. Mayor, I would request that we open up a moment here to hear any other citizen comments, even though this is not a formal public hearing, because at least my intention, if the council disagrees, they can express this, but pending the formal proposal from Sunshine, it sounds like the council is on the verge of approving this, which we won't be able to do tonight. But for the sake of those who came to speak their piece about garbage, I would encourage citizens to do that tonight rather than advertise next time. Obviously, next time we'll have public comment and people can speak next time as well, but the city advertised this meeting to talk about garbage rates, so if anyone has anything more to say here.
Sounds good. Do you have any problem with Paul having a proposed resolution? Okay. Or the current phase of the charges?
I'd say both.
There's both.
Thank you very much.
You bet. So, anybody on the floor have any questions for Paul or other things you'd like to say, statements?
When would the transition occur? With Metro Port?
Maybe a month. I'm just shooting from the hip here. If we start getting bids, then it would have to go through a council. It could be a month or more away.
Did you say you billed quarterly?
Yes.
Okay, so the next quarter would hit, when's the next quarterly billing? Or you guys don't care which quarter, it's just,
That is malleable. It's the logistics of transformation. I mean, really, the service being provided under the new contract is the important piece, right?
my 2 cents, again, not speaking for the council. I have a feeling of wanting to do this transition in January for 2 reasons. One, for budget, because that way we can eliminate garbage from next year's budget and we don't have to do a amendment to the garbage for that. Second of all, I think it's going to take time to communicate to the citizens that their garbage is stopping with the city, and we need to properly communicate that and give people an opportunity, over a number of meetings and with signage out there to say, so January 1, city's not doing it for you anymore. This is who you call, this is who you email, this is where you go to sign up. I think a month timing could be a little bit tight to try and get this city. Not everyone's watching the YouTube stream or on our email list or that, so it's going to take us a while to communicate that out to everyone that's going to be impacted. But that's just me.
I'll offer something also. Kettle Falls is a good example with dumpster customers. We actually, again, it was sticker shock for all of them. We visited them face to face ahead of time and took the brunt of the anger, but at the same time, it was a good opportunity to answer questions and to right size those services for the needs of that person. And we would be willing to do that again if the city wished.
My 2 cents is I'm not opposed to doing it right away. I understand Councilman Hardy's concerns, but in a sense, we're already contracted with you. It's just a matter of, instead of the city sending the bill, you guys send the bill. That's the way I see it. It should be simple, lateral move.
The other thing we'll want to look at is the existing contract term. Maybe there's some advice from that as to when it terminates, and we can just start anew right there then. I mean, just a thought, but we could definitely advance those discussions.
However, I gotta recant part of my statement. There will be somewhat sticker shock probably to some people, and we may need some time to transfer or convey that to the citizens.
I agree with Steve. Stephen,
You know?
yeah, I think people are gonna have to have some notice that it's changing, and then maybe get signed up, whatever it is that you would require, and give them an estimate on how much it's gonna cost or whatever you come up with.
Understood.
I'm looking at the contract record that was done. Looks like it was 3 years from when it was executed, December 31st of 2020. So it sounds like we're coming up to the end of a contract
I didn't know that.
right now.
Nice coincidence, right?
Yeah. That works out, I guess.
So, for me, I think I would like to see your proposal and everything in all due haste. And then if it looks like it's just, we can make the transition. I'm assuming it's not quarterly billing as much as it's every 3 months.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not. Okay. So that way, if we look at it and it is easy, and it's relatively easy to make the transition, then we can pull the trigger sooner, I guess is what I'm thinking. So kind of blend of the two, but I would like, I think, to agree with Councilman Hardy that I think we would like to have this done, worst case scenario, by the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't want next year's budget.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
You waiting for comment out of me, Stephen?
No, if you don't
Okay.
have one.
I don't really. No.
Mr. Dion, thank you for being patient with us and presenting the things that you've said.
The door is open too, so you've all have my contact information. If anything comes up from yourselves or from citizens, I will act on those with due haste as well.
Thanks for your time.
Any other comments from the floor?
I'd like to see the transition happen in January just for budget purposes. You guys be able to make that adjustment.
Well, when
Jumping all over this is not necessary.
if we were gonna raise rates, were we gonna wait till January to do it?
I was going to just for the coinciding with the budget, but I understand the concept that the city losing money for 1 month and for 1 year is still city losing money either way. So I respect the desire to do it immediately from financial perspective.
Of course, there'd be communication going on beforehand.
Is there anybody in this county that you serve that is going to a person by person, or is it the city that's handling the garbage?
None that I'm aware of. I'm trying to think. I don't think any of the cities are handling local. I know there are examples of the city doing it, like Chewelah, for one, is doing their own garbage. Again, Kettle Falls just got out of it because for the same exact reasons that the council here is looking at it.
Chris, were you asking, is any other city that he knows of in our same position now? Is that
That's
what your question?
right, that is,
Yeah, I'm
is
curious.
where we're considering going to
Yeah,
individual billing.
I see what you're saying. Washtuckna is another example of somebody who does the billing to the customer and receives a bill from the disposal and from the service provider and is looking for a way out.
But pretty much every other city, the inverse of that is what I'm hearing is that every other city has left this model, pretty much.
There's definitely a trend. However, there are some that develop their staffing model based on the handling of all the utilities, and they're reluctant to let go of that.
They have their own garbage, I mean, their own truck.
They hire a service provider, but they do the billing to the customer, and their headcount is based on that. Oftentimes tenured people they want to keep around for a long period of time, and I get it.
They can certainly bigger population.
They are definitely bigger. Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank you,
council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul, we appreciate it.
We will too.
Yes.
So there was another part on here with garbage management and cost issues. While we're on this, do we want to even talk about any of that? Or has that pretty much been handled here? We're not going to proceed with this resolution from last week?
I would strike that, since we don't have a motion that needs tabling, I would strike that agenda item, and then I would hope that next meeting we would have a proposal in hand, which I don't think, my understanding is we don't have to adopt his proposal, because his proposal is what Sunshine's going to offer the residents, which we don't technically care about. We would have a resolution at that time to end garbage service effective some date.
What date? Yes, correct.
That's all that we technically do is just end our service.
So, are we really servicing the garbage in question?
Are we servicing it?
Right.
Well, we deliver a lot of garbage cans.
But that's,
We're subcontracting the pickup. And
The impact. is
Sunshine
felt
is
there.
our service. They're our,
They are the contractor, correct, and the county when the tipping fees come. And we are servicing all the financial end of it. And bearing the brunt of what gets put in a can, what doesn't get put in a can, where that can sits, and if you do not pay us for it. supporting all that,
To the tune of $20,000 a year.
at least, in
Yeah.
addition to what the service costs.
So one thing we will need to research is any existing ordinances that
yes, thank
may dictate what the city is supposed to do. And if we go down this path, we're gonna have to make some amendments.
I think that's gonna require a committee.
Yeah.
Reason that I say that is there's interpretation of past history in this town is sometimes just that.
Yes. Well, just a quick search of our code, or our ordinances, I found at least 3 that predominantly referred to garbage. And they're all,
180, one of them, that's back in.
182,
Yeah.
170, 182, and 265.
Some of those are 20 years old.
Yes, they are.
Is it mainly referencing a mandatory, mandatory?
It's some of that. Some of it is about what you do with your garbage. But I think some of it, in just a brief glance, was the city's responsibility to supply a garbage service. So I think we need to make sure we're in compliance or adjusting our rules.
Any further comments from the floor before we close this? Okay, let's move on. Public Works. Troy, you were given a task this week to come up with a list of de minimis objects.
See this?
I think I printed them all.
And I believe, yes, that should have been handed out to all of
Thank
us.
you. It's on the table.
What is the word? Somebody had looked that up, broken hand tools.
Broken hand tools.
That's,
Well, declared to be of no value.
Junk.
It's something that's considered to be tribal.
Where does this word derive?
Webster.
For our purposes, the laws that we're accountable to.
Why you're accountable?
So the RCWs, there's a surplusing, there's a procedure for getting rid of city-owned property. Either it has to go through a bid process, or for us to throw away something that needs to be declared of no value, and there's a vote on that.
What's lawyer talk?
It's,
Latin.
Jargon.
How about common sense for common world people?
well, we're still accountable before Olympia for what we're accountable for. Troy?
A lot of these, tools have been hanging on the wall, shoved in corners, buried under stuff, and you dug them out. And it's very impressive. I mean, some of the stuff is homemade. A lot of them have broken handles. And
So a lot of this is stuff that as soon as it broke should have been chucked in the trash and instead got stuck in a corner.
we can't because Baba tax dollars
Okay, in theory, it should have been chucked in the trash.
years ago.
But because we are a government entity, we have to go through all this. Yeah.
When you refer to here, the shovels, bent heads, cut heads, broken, you referring to the handle broken?
Some of them have been torched down to make other tools with.
Okay.
A lot of modification.
Yeah.
now this is just the public works stuff that's in the
Yeah,
shop.
this is just stuff down at the shop.
Okay, because I'd heard we were talking about adding picnic tables or past picnic tables to this list. And
Only actually the framework.
okay, the framework to the picnic tables.
Old rusted pieces of pipe that are actually made old picnic tables.
I think if they're unserviceable, I think you can get rid of them.
What's that?
If they're unserviceable, they have no value whatsoever.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think that the two things that would be notable on this would be the hay rake and the homemade tool, perhaps. I'd have to look it up specifically. I do think if it's broken, we can throw it away. But there's also things like that hay rake, assumedly it's not broken, it is functional.
It is broken.
Oh, okay, the hay
It's
rake.
a hand tool.
Oh,
There's
not
nothing
the,
on here that is
oh,
motorized,
okay.
electrical, nothing. These are all hand tools.
Oh, okay. think when we were talking about maybe I didn't make this clear, but I was thinking you had like larger pieces of equipment. There was a question of, are we gonna repair, or can we just get rid of it, the bigger stuff?
Oh, no, this
Okay,
is just the start. Well, we already got the trucks, everything else listed.
okay,
This is all hand tools we need to make more room.
okay.
And don't throw out the hay rake because I might be interested in buying that.
Well,
Sitting right outside the shop. Hey, Tim, could you hold a second? We're still in the meeting. You'll get public comment after.
No, I have a question. Where do I urinate?
This is our meeting.
Where do I urinate?
At home or in the back?
You don't know where the bathroom is?
I don't.
Oh.
This is my first time in here. Go ahead, Troy.
Yeah, it'll take me a second, I got the hay rake out.
You have pictures of any of this stuff? This hay rake is from another century.
That's why I
And
went
it
in.
was determined that it was a hay rake.
There are metal.
Second
tines
door,
on
in
one
the,
side.
in the room down there. at the
Yep,
end.
that
Or at the
sounds
end of the
great
hall.
to me.
so,
No, I just,
Okay.
are these something that you want, I may have missed it, I do apologize. Are these something that needs to be replaced? Or they're just
No.
crops, they're
This
tripping
is
over,
stuff
right?
that's
Is what you're
Been
saying?
there.
Okay, I'll say
somebody
it.
kept and decided, you know, one day we might need a stop this. Great.
Okay. You don't see, well, if the asphalt rakes, they do come in handy, but if they're broken and bent heads, they're not gonna be of use whatsoever, right? Okay.
We don't do enough asphalt work here.
I'll take an action of before our next meeting, I'll get a little bit more clarity on what's the level of things. I do agree with David. I think broken things we can do automatically, but like from the tech perspective, when we were grabbing things out of the old city hall, we found some of the old printing calculators and stuff. There's nothing wrong with them. They still work. So there's some stuff that we'll probably have to declare de minimis there because there's nothing wrong with it. We just don't use it. Yeah.
Most of this should be thrown away.
Right,
Okay.
and I think this is a good example. We need to make sure we're clear on what things can be thrown away automatically.
We have,
Fine.
we have a
Okay.
large number of equipment that we need to go through.
I believe that's a hay rake, right?
And also
I
get
don't know,
rid
but
of,
that
let
looks
at a
cool to
bid,
me.
if somebody wants the old chainsaw
Okay.
or the jackhammer that doesn't work,
No, I think so.
did you?
Well, and that's where some of those items, you can argue that if the work that it would take or the amount of money that it would take to repair it is more than what it's worth,
Yes.
we can take things that even theoretically have a value and declare them de minimis to say that it's not worth it to the city. By the time you repair it, it's worthless. It's like a totaled vehicle. That's, I think, what a lot of de minimis is for here, is that kind of a situation to just say, if anyone wants it, take it, it's been voted on, you know.
My only question to what Councilman Hardy is professing here, and kind of under the pretense, does any of this have a inventory sticker, or is it inventoried anywhere? I don't think so in Harrington when we did that, but,
That was before they had anything that was,
yeah.
could print off stickers.
Wally had his little pad.
So do we need an action item to just get rid of them, or do you need to
So,
do some research on what we can and
I
can't
move to
do?
approve the list of de minimis items and formally declare this list of items as de minimis.
Second.
So we've got a motion on,
We got a tie.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on these de minimis items?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What can I do with them?
Throw them away, or you can
That's-
give them to whoever wants them.
Find somebody with a dumpster.
Yeah.
Except for the hay rake.
I'll save that.
Further questions?
I'm good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by
Aye.
saying aye. All opposed, say the same. Motion passes. Gonna get rid of de minimis items. Moving on here. Minutes from the August 23rd meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we got a motion on and a second to approve the minutes as written. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion passes 5-0. Approve the prior check register, or look over the prior check register.
'Cause Mr. Mayor, didn't we, already approve
It's just
that?
observed.
Yeah.
Observe and sign,
Hey,
isn't
they're
it?
looking
It's,
at it.
well, it says approved, but it's observed. Those things are, this is not the current one, this is the one that was done last time.
I was wondering how many times we have to pay TD.
Yes.
No one
It's like,
knows.
oh, what the heck?
Sign payroll.
And the former payroll from September,
Well,
and let me dig it out here, check register and the payrolls attached at the back
and
of
this
that
one is
section.
from 7/26 to 8/25.
That's correct.
Is that the one?
Yes, correct.
Oh, oh.
They're most welcome.
That's actually an item that needs to be approved.
Move to approve.
Second.
So we got a motion and a second to approve the payroll from August 23rd. Further discussion?
Nope, I'm
Nope.
good.
I'm good.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Motion carries. Approve the payroll. Approval of the new claims. This is a big one, gentlemen. Probably, I'm gonna guess, may need some. You don't have one?
I'll second. Stephen moved to approve already.
Okay. Wow. Did you look at the second to the last item on that list?
The restroom, well,
Yes.
we need to put it into discussion anyway.
Yes,
so-
okay, so we got a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, to the second to the bottom, I was curious to what extent was that dollar amount
Well, I
necessary?
could show you the parts, I have the replacement parts, and I have all of those receipts if you'd like. First of all, I'd like to say hats off on YouTube here to Mr. Don Tin for all of his work. He came and got the original book for me and went through, ordered himself, paid for himself, actually did all the work and put that bathroom back in working order, 100% by himself, and some help from our public works and other people. So Don, hats off to Don for that. And he paid for all this, $3,000 worth of parts. No labor has been put into this. This is strictly parts to repair. And I guess the one thing I'd like to say is that I know there's a large contingent of people that think we need to provide a bathroom for people who drive through this town. And you can see, I'll show you some of these parts, a Y and a vacuum valve that controls the flushing of the urinal and the toilet was $1,100. So, and you say, no way. Well, first of all, gentlemen, there's a problem nowadays with even getting replacement parts. If you, I'm sure a couple of you work on equipment. So I've got the box of parts in there, and it's a pretty big expense.
So, do we know if there's any projected difference in maintaining the bathrooms at Town Square versus at Park?
Yes, the bathrooms at the town square are gonna get shut up in about a month and a half because they're not capable
Not
of
heated?
surviving. That's correct. There's no heated plumbing, there's no heaters in there, so we put those bathrooms to sleep here the
Okay,
minute we think about freezing. So
but
that one,
yeah, but let's just theorize for a second that we put heat in there. Is it inherently like urinal? The bathroom doesn't necessarily need a urinal. Is there a urinal in?
I don't-
I haven't
I've
gone
never
in,
been in that
honestly.
one. I couldn't tell you. No?
Well, nobody goes over there.
In the comment,
Well, it actually gets used. Yeah? Is there a urinal?
No, there's a toilet.
Okay.
because
Is it a one-holer?
It's a toilet.
Yeah, but I mean, there's only one door you go in and it's,
There's no man,
There's only
But
one,
it's
there's
eight-
only one
one-
commode.
there's
Eight
only one
toilets,
There's only
side.
one
There's-
stall.
two toilets.
There's a men's and a women's, or there's only one toilet?
there's one door,
Okay, one door, one toilet. Okay. It's a bathroom.
there's one thing.
I've made the comment in some places before, but I'll make it for the record here. I think if we're going to maintain any toilets, be open and maintain them on the behalf of the city, I think it should be at the town square, not at the park. I might be the only one that feels that way, but, and I know there was already effort made to put that up there, but to me, our downtown, the charging station that's putting in there, everything that surrounds our downtown means a lot more than our park, because you sit in that park and you watch people drive through every day and use that and leave. If we are going to invest in a bathroom for the good of the city, I think a bathroom that does more good for the city is one that actually is in the downtown where people get benefit from it in the city. They might shop, but
That's what we disagree with that stuff.
Mr. Campot, this is not the time for public comment.
Oh, it's not.
No.
No.
Have a
Okay,
quick,
so you can just blabber on and we have to take it. Is
We-
that correct?
We have been elected to debate the matters of the city, and there is a time.
Matters? Well, I'm a citizen of this town. Okay, it's not a city, sorry, it's a town.
It is a city legally, sir. It is a it is a city.
it is a city, Jim.
Yes.
According to the paperwork.
Well, I do see the point of that.
Does anybody wanna see any of the parts? The new
I don't
parts?
wanna see the parts, I think they're de minimis.
Okay. Actually, no, there's still, it's a good box of parts.
Oh, okay.
I'm only
My
keeping-
question was this customary repairs that were deferred maintenance, or was it vandalized?
Some of it was vandalization, some of it was during the winter last year when it was down around zero, somebody walked out and kicked the door open and damaged one of the hinges. Then the door didn't shut and the heater couldn't keep up with so it's a problem. Many times they have been vandalized.
need to keep
If
it
you'd
open.
like pictures of those, I have pictures of them, which you'll find
You and I
disgusting.
see the
But
parks
at any rate,
simply.
it's a costly situation, and I'd say we got off with one half of the real cost here.
Oh, yeah.
And probably less than that. Like I say, Don spent $3,000 of his own cash, which I hope we're gonna refund him. And did all the work himself, including painting the floors.
Okay, question.
Not yet, Tim, sorry.
I have a question.
Okay.
Just refresh my memory on this. Do we keep those open year-round up there?
Yes, they're open
Is
24/7.
there any requirement that we keep them open year-round?
That would depend on who you're talking to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would talk to the person who says that we don't.
You know,
have to
they,
keep them
they
open.
apparently have a timed lock. I don't know if that's functioning at the moment, so.
But that's provided no one kicks the door open and breaks the hinges and it's open and freezes the pipes.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that in the last year.
Yeah,
I wanna know,
that's why I'm
Just
wondering.
malicious, not serious vandalism. Well, it's serious if you gotta clean it up.
Well, if Don Tim was a plumber, and the plumber spent $3,000 in parts, I guarantee you that's gonna be $9,000 to $10,000.
I
Mhm.
agree, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
um,
I only brought all of that up because I thought it needed to be known. When you see him, you need to thank him
Mhm.
that,
for
yes.
all that he does for the community.
Agreed.
It's,
Outstanding man.
yes, absolutely. Just unbelievable, the amount of time and effort he puts in.
Okay, so back to the claims.
So that, any more questions on that particular claim? Okay,
Uh, 57 locates, it's not a big amount, but just as a point of reference, was that a lot because of a lot of the
Yes.
mapping and the
that's a
surveying?
huge
that we
number
did?
of weeks.
Well, the dollar figure was not, I mean,
Yeah.
they're relatively cheap.
Yes, they are.
But 57 is a lot
But
of them.
it cost us, you don't know how much time it takes for the gentleman to figure out where these pipes are and try to locate a pipe.
So,
I have one question. The weed eater,
Weed eater, yes.
where the heck was it here?
chop weed eater and tools, are we buying quality weed eater?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I went and purchased that myself. It's one of the finest pieces of equipment. I'd love to have it hanging in my garage.
Okay,
It is a steel, which you have motorcycle type handlebars
So it's commercial
and a
grade.
harness that you sit
Cool.
on. Yes, it is. It's
Good.
commercial.
So you can ride around town on it
No,
when you're
you
not
can't
moving
ride
back
on
in?
it, but if you ever had to use it, you'd be glad of this piece of equipment, cause it is a first-class piece of equipment to replace the battery ran, one that ran about 10 minutes. So
You had a battery leak?
I just couldn't send these guys out to do work
No.
without having a real piece of equipment. They're too busy.
Is it the kind that will take a blade? should
Yes,
be
it has a
needed?
blade on it,
Okay, good.
so it'll cut through kochia. A straight shaft, you'll have to go down. If you haven't been to the shop, you need to go there. If,
It's been a while, yes.
Well, we had workshops occasionally back when the boys were there. It
Yeah.
would be maybe a good thing for us to do that again, to see, have Troy show us whatever he feels like the council should know.
yeah.
and a wish list.
Yeah.
We,
What
we still need,
absolutely
we
need.
still need several hand tools. When they go to the cemetery, I was up there, yes, but no, we don't need those shovels. I was up there burying somebody the other day, because one of the people was gone and Troy happened to be sick, was throwing up that day, so I'm the guy who was up there filling in the grave afterwards. And there was no shovels. Where's, well, it's that, that's not a shovel.
Does,
It's a
Do they-
trowel, huh?
is there any tools kept in that shed up there?
No, but there's going to be.
That,
Well,
There's going to be a
the shed,
bow rake and
that's
a couple
where-
shovels, a square and a round nose shovel and a
Fair
saw
enough.
cutter.
a lot of the material.
Cause I'm gonna go
tools should
pick them
be
up.
there. Go ahead, Aaron.
No. I guess I was saying, I hope not, just because that building's gonna fall down sooner or later, but it's certainly more accessible to keep cemetery things up there.
So yes, we bought a quality piece of equipment. Please stop by the shop and they'd be tickled pink to show you all the cleaning they've done and organizing.
Not relevant, but where did you pick those up?
Ace Hardware, believe it
Okay.
or not, they're one of the biggest steel
Down in-
well, I went to Cheney.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I
Um,
got mine, was Ace.
And I'd like to make one last comment regarding the office-related purchases.
Yes,
For the record, there are very few purchases, because we've talked about, ever since we talked about coming here, the possibility that if something makes it so that it doesn't work out for us to be here long-term, there could be a world in which we move back to the old city hall. That is not new, that's been discussed ever since this topic came up. We've been trying to buy with a mind that if that was to happen, which I think many people do not wish that to be the case, that a lot of what we bought would still be applicable. The cubicles would still be applicable, the Wi-Fi upgrades would still be applicable. There are very few purchases that are represented on this list that would become useless if we move anywhere else in this town. So I just wanted to make that mention.
Heather, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, for the cubicles and stuff.
They're working well, yes.
Yes, they're beautiful.
further discussion on the claims. So we've got a motion on the floor in a second.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All in favor of accepting the claims as presented here, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Good, let's move on here. So garbage, we're gonna go away with. Letter to the commissioners. Has everybody had a chance to read the letter to the commissioners about the weed? That was the,
I sent it out, but I would be happy to read it.
okay?
Now, again, this is a proposal of something for us to look at. We don't have to approve it at all. We can wordsmith it. I just wanted to put something out here for us to start discussing. So, to the Lincoln County Commissioners, the Harrington City Council members, I put in brackets unanimously. I don't know if we're unanimous, but oppose the tax proposed by the Weed Board upon its citizens. While either some members or we find the per parcel proposal presented to the council on, and then I got to put in the date of that meeting where Farron was here, to be inequitable in its distribution of the tax burden. We find this to be true in two respects. One, by taxing the unincorporated parcels at the same rate as vastly larger unincorporated parcels, the cost per acre to citizens of Harrington would be inordinate. Land hosts weeds, people do not. Therefore, we believe that taxation should scale with the amount of the land one owns. Why land in the city that is often watered and cared for as yard around one's house should be taxed more per acre than tilled and lesser maintained farm ground has not been adequately explained. Two, parcel size in Harrington is not uniform. Some lots are comprised of only one parcel, while others are of commensurate size are made up of, and I believe we need to check this with our maps, but I think there's an example where there's 8 to 1 in some areas. So we'll check that. This problem may be particular to Harrington, but we suspect this may be true for several incorporated areas in Lincoln County. Even if there is a reason to tax incorporated acreage at a vastly higher rate than unincorporated acreage, which we can test, we do not see why incorporated acreage should be taxed 800% more than other incorporated acreages. Perhaps this is a prompting for Harrington to investigate the possibility of adopting more uniform parcel size, but until such an adjustment has been made, this proposed tax will unevenly affect the citizens within our town on a per acre basis. In summation, this letter is not written to oppose any form of the tax. This letter is written to specifically oppose the uniform per parcel taxation rate as proposed. Please oppose this new tax in its current form. Respectfully, the Harrington City Council. What I tried to leave open in that letter is I think there are some of us that may feel like we oppose this tax completely.
I do.
And there's some of us where, and I hope I tried to write this in such a way that I'm not speaking that the entire council, like I'm open to a tax, but not in the way they're proposing it. I think what we might be unanimous on is at a bare minimum. What I tried to write is at the minimum, we oppose this way of doing it. If it was done differently, we might diverge in how we feel, but we may as a council be unanimous that we do not think that this is what Farron proposed to us is a fair way of doing this tax.
I agree.
Completely agree.
I don't think there should be any tax for this.
I read this in the email earlier and I had an opportunity to respond. I don't know if you had
Yeah,
an
I saw.
opportunity to. So the basic context of the letter and everything, I mean, I'm almost 100% there. I thought the last two sentences on the second point that says perhaps this is a prompting for Harrington to unify. I don't even want to go down that path.
Okay.
This, just the thought of trying to figure out how to get all the parcels in Harrington with all the different ownership of a uniform size.
Well,
is-
uniform might not have been the right word there, but let me put it this way. Personally, I own one of the lots that's, the parcels are tiny. I think I own 12 parcels for, right, for a size that if you go to the north end of town, you'll find it should be just about one parcel. If
Right.
this goes through, one of the agenda items I'm going to be bringing here is how do we make it so that there's one parcel per lot? Because
Per
I don't
lot.
think, whatever your lot size is, should be one parcel.
That's not the way she had explained it. was
No,
it?
no, because they're
So-
not taxing per lot, they're taxing per parcel. And that's really weird that it's like, if I have, just to make it round numbers, if I have 1 acre and someone on the north end of town has 1 acre, I might pay 8 to 10 to 12 times more for my acre than someone on the north end of town. And that makes absolutely no sense to me, like that would possibly be something that would be put into this.
Well, from my 2 cents from the get-go is, I agree with all that, but from the simple form of this is that, to me, it's just a money grab. Because they're not coming in here and using that money to go take care of our problem. We already have an ordinance addressing people, and I think towns, cities should be responsible enough to take care of their own citizens.
Well,
For what I mean by that, police their own lots, and the fire departments, I know Odessa does, they're on it like right now, if your weeds are out of hand. I don't see any good coming, once you allow a tax in there, you just gave them free rein to anything goes. I do not, I'm strongly opposed to this, and I hope everybody else and the citizens in this town would be too, or city would be too. That's my 2 cents.
So does that mean you'd like to send this letter out
Yes,
to the,
hand deliver it.
to the,
But
And-
I have a suspicion it would be without the.
Yes, Mr.
y-
Mayor.
With, sorry. I suspect it would be without the portion that refers to,
Uniforming, or,
it's not that we don't oppose to any form of tax.
Okay.
You're opposed to any kind of tax, is what I mean. So-
Right, and I,
Anything,
yes.
So
That was kind of-
perhaps we should put in this letter, those of the council member, like, perhaps we are united in saying we don't want this proposal. Past that, we can put a listing to say the council members that are against any tax are these people, and those that are against this form is these people.
I don't see any good from this tax, to tell you the truth.
Yeah,
I know there's a fellow farmer in here, and myself included, that, we haven't seen a county spray any of the roads, and we pay one heck of a lot of tax for that.
Yeah.
And they haven't done it in quite some time, and the owners are having to spray the damn roads anymore in this county.
so what would
So
the
nothing
council
comes
like
of
to
it.
do about this letter? You wanna
well, and we can,
amend some of these
we
things?
can, yes, because here's the thing. My understanding is Farron said that there was the council, the commissioners were going to be meeting on this towards the latter part of this month.
Okay.
So I think we are out of council meetings to do something. So if we're going to send a letter as a council, we need to find some form of this that we can at least agree upon 3 out of the 5 of us to get a majority vote. And I think it's even better if we can find a statement that all 5 of us agree on. So if there's something that we can say as a council that we unanimously oppose, to say we all oppose this form, and there's those that oppose any form, we wanted to separately list those council members that oppose any form. We need to find, in my opinion, some form of this letter that we can vote on and send tonight. Otherwise, we lose our opportunity. And I have a suspicion that if there is no statement from a organization, the commissioners are more likely to consider this and vote it in than if there's just individuals that contact them and oppose it. I could be naive, but I think there is value in a city saying, no, we are united that we do not want this.
Well said. But from the standpoint, again, I don't see no benefit from this. It doesn't benefit the citizens one iota. All it does is drain their pockets.
Okay, so let's run it this way, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, somebody'd like to make a motion of what you guys would like to do.
Well, first I gotta get the text out of this. So
Okay.
let's go down at a minimum of a question. David's opposed to Farron's proposal,
Any tax.
and any. Are you opposed to Farron's
I
proposal?
agree with what you had written.
Okay, but are you opposed to any tax or just?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Joe, are you
de
opposed?
minimis.
Are you opposed to her proposal, and are you opposed to all?
You know what, Councilman Bedris made a very compelling point about cracking the door open on any tax, and I tend to agree with him. So I'm opposed to this tax and any other form thereof.
I'm 100% in line with David there.
Okay. So I guess I would maybe just be the center of it. So,
Charging people
So
a
it needs to
tax
be put in
is
just
not,
one sentence. We're opposed to any form of this tax.
just having a
So-
proposing a tax is not gonna keep people from growing weeds in their yard.
Well, do you remember what the benefits of the tax were for us?
I do,
Yeah,
yeah. I can borrow a 5-gallon spray bottle
Yep.
to spray
Yeah.
my own
And somebody
weeds.
can walk through your yard and
Yeah.
show you what's wrong with it.
okay,
That was the summation of,
I think, just give me a sec. I think I can change this in a way that we can all agree on.
Just right.
and I'm not
No.
trying to mock Farron in what I said, but that was the gist of what we got out of it.
No, I would just, we're vehemently opposed to that.
Can we pull out the parcel map? So, and Cynthia, can you find the parcel map? And Donna, can you get the date that Farron was here for me, please?
It was two meetings ago, I think.
Yeah, I just didn't remember the exact date.
Would a little parcel map work?
September?
Yeah, anything to just, what I'm looking to do to put it in
August 9th.
context for the commissioners is to establish, is my memory correct that we're finding that roughly there are some lots that when we look at the north end versus the south end, that it's a roughly 8-to-1, 10-to-1? We're not gonna measure it, but we just need something to say, okay, so,
See, these are our lots, but what, you know,
Okay,
when they're talking
65.
parcels, are they talking the county assessor parcels?
I believe so.
That's what she said,
Yeah,
Right.
because we were talking, he just was commenting that his plot is 4 parcels, technically.
right, so there's 12, 12,
There's
24.
more over here.
Wasn't there, oh, okay, this one has, so it looks like if we assume that a block size is the same, north and south, which I think for the purposes of what we have to do here today, we have to, then on the north end of town, you'll find 12 parcels in a block, and on the south end of town, you'll find
10.
24 in a,
10 on the north, right?
oh, there's 10 up there.
Yeah.
Okay, so 10 and then 24 at the south end.
How this was
Yeah.
determined.
About from Sherlock,
It's almost craziness.
Yeah.
about from Sherlock south.
We've lost it further south.
They're
you
big,
get.
they're
Smaller.
more, they're
Okay.
smaller. or more
Yeah, I
of
was
them.
gonna say my
So I'm
lot's
talking
not
about-
much at all.
Mm-hmm.
And according to this, we only have one water line.
Yeah.
South side of town.
I know.
I wonder how they determined that.
It was a long time ago.
Mhm.
My house was built in 1901. But that house, the mansion on the hill,
Bethel House?
that was, yeah, the Sanchez lives there now.
Yeah, Bethel.
Yeah, Bethel House. That was built about the same time too, and that's a
Okay, perfect.
humongous
Thank you. Mhm.
parcel or whatever you wanna call it.
Well, if they were gonna charge this and they were gonna come in and do it for you, for one thing, that's not what it's gonna be.
No. And it's not gonna keep people from, they're
Keeping
gonna
up their
still,
yard?
they're still, yeah, they're still
Mhm.
gonna grow weeds,
See, that's what our ordinances are about,
yeah.
our nuisance and our,
I didn't.
that's what our nuisance, well, that's what our nuisance ordinance is about, and all that, is for citizens to keep their place clean, and we just went through all that. That is listed in there on some of the old archived.
Well, some of those,
Ordinance.
some places around town are very much a fire hazard.
And it,
I mean, there's- yeah.
Hope nobody throws a cigarette over there.
I worried at the 4th of July because my next door neighbors were shooting firecrackers. The house next to them hasn't been weeded or watered for 2 years.
I know,
It's just-
town of Odessa, if you have something down there, and the fire department comes around,
They
city
throw-
fire,
Throw a match in it,
No,
and
no,
if it
no,
doesn't,
no, they'll write you up and eventually fine you.
All right, let me just about
Yes,
get
sir.
this done. Okay, I
No,
think,
he's still got it.
all right, I'm gonna read a revised version of this, and I think this is something that, from what I heard, the entire council agrees on. To the Lincoln County Commissioners, the Harrington City Council members unanimously oppose the per parcel tax presented to the council on 8/9/2023 as inequitable in its distribution of tax burden. We find this to be true in 2 respects. One, by taxing the by taxing the incorporated parcels at the same rate as vastly larger unincorporated parcels, the cost per acre to the citizens of Harrington would be inordinate. Land hosts weeds, people do not. Therefore, we believe that taxation should scale with the amount of land one owns. Why land in the city that is often watered and cared for as yard around one's house should be taxed more per acre than tilled and lesser maintained farm ground has not adequately been explained. 2, parcel size in Harrington is not uniform. Some lots are comprised of 10 parcels, while others of commensurate size are made up of 24. This problem may be particular to Harrington, but we suspect this to be true for several incorporated areas in Lincoln County. Even if there is a reason to tax incorporated acreage at a vastly higher rate than unincorporated acreage, which we contest, we do not see why some incorporated acreage should be taxed at 240% more than other incorporated acreage. Please oppose this new tax in its current form. Respectfully, Harrington City Council.
The only part I don't like, several things there, you left the door open for a
A
back
different
door
tax
open
base.
for them to come back.
You're talking about the last sentence?
Yeah, there's some other stuff too. It's well, I like it, but
So
it leaves, I think it needs to be to the point. This is not in the best interest of the citizens of this city. It does not, we view it, this tax as proposed does nothing of value to the citizens of Harrington. Because it doesn't.
we don't have a say either.
We're just writing a letter, Tim, to tell them that we oppose this.
Only
And
the
that's when,
commissioners have a say.
it's not even on the ballot, so there's number one that I have a problem with. We don't vote on this, nobody votes on it, they just, and that's why we're trying to. Or,
County,
Lincoln County Weed
County.
Control.
But for our city like this, our public works, our own, code enforcement officer.
That's
Oh,
not
yes,
true.
we do.
Yes, we do. We pay him.
Who is he?
Troy
Who is
Crawford.
she?
Troy Crawford. Okay. So I amended the last section there to say, please oppose this tax proposal. We do not believe it provides any tangible value to the citizens of Harrington.
Which
Any,
it doesn't.
any objections to the current wording then?
Could you email that to him?
Well,
No.
we,
I thought you were gonna handle it.
Well, I will, if I have to,
Do we want it certified too?
because
all right, move to approve the sending of this letter on behalf of the Harrington City
Second.
Council to the
Second.
Lincoln County Commissioners.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve this letter to be sent to the commissioners. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Motion passes 5-0. Very good.
One last note, Donna, when you put, I just sent it out, the revised text. When you put it on letterhead to send that, please put a link into the relevant YouTube video. I didn't do that here, but that's in brackets where it says link. The rest of it should be good to go as done.
Next agenda item, cemetery lot prices and opening and closing. So cemetery services and lot prices. Everybody got a copy of that?
Yeah.
Okay, those are the current prices that we are charging for lots, niches,
Those prices are ridiculous.
opening and closing of graves. Those prices are about 1/2 or less of what is being done around us.
well,
50 miles.
Mr. Mayor, may I expound on that a little
course.
bit? Doing a little research, looking in the state of Washington. And the average burial plot in Washington is over $3,500. That's the average, out of 365 cemeteries in the state. They range from as high as 34,000 to as low as 240. You
We're
can
not the lowest then.
No, but I think the lowest would probably be like Moeller.
So if you take, if you take away the top, David, where does the normal, where does the 50% drop?
Well, you know, it's,
Obviously, cut the bottom ones and the top ones off.
I don't know, I think, one of the clerks had somebody shop in Harrington. And if they could share what they were, who they were and what they were, but I know that Spokane, and for whatever reason, it didn't matter, all around the state, the niches were more, I thought, they were a lot more money than a plot. And I wondered why that is. The
Like
niche,
the urn,
the outdoor niche,
Niches,
yeah, whatever.
mausoleums,
yeah, where you put
Yeah.
ash.
The wall.
The
some of
wall.
them are
Not to bury in the
20 feet
ground.
tall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and you're stacked 5 or 10 high.
They were about $1,000. I know Spokane. I don't have those with me, but
I guess I kind of get that because let's say that you just put the last person in the niche. To get one more, you have to buy a whole new niche. Right? It doesn't scale like with putting a person in the ground. You can always just dig the hole, and that's repeatable cost. But to get one
you're
person
out of
past
spaces.
full, you've got a whole installation. So I guess that kind of makes sense. It's weird.
Won't even go into saying what they do in Louisiana.
in Idaho, you can bury them in your backyard. That I do know. But in Washington, that's just a little tidbit information. I think at 350, yes, I would recommend that be adjusted and then the niche space be adjusted. And, you know, the infant, I wouldn't do anything with that. I'd leave that at 200 personally.
Do you have proposed new amounts?
Well, kind of, sortly. I don't know if I want to mention them.
No,
But-
the first one, grave space, that is the actual
I
patch
think
of
that-
land.
You know what I mean?
Yes, and the niches, but the bottom ones you were talking about are actually the services provided.
But, yeah, exactly. The services, I would do that. I would leave them personally alone right now, because I think they're high enough, personally. I don't know when the last rate increase was on this, but some of that looks like it's been increased since, 2015, 16, and 17.
Do we have this listed as an action item on the agenda?
Yes.
We do.
Oh, yes it is, discussion and action.
I'll back you on that if you want to do so.
Well,
I think
Just-
that's, that number I'm not, maybe not quite there, but I'm fine with that number.
which one?
Either, I'd maybe split the difference.
Okay. Well, just going by what I found, and like, I know we're not Spokane County, got that, but what is our cemetery? I mean, I thought about this. Are we more along the lines of a private cemetery? Would you view it? Anybody? Or is it
What would you define as private in that
Community.
context?
well, we do have a Catholic section and I guess Protestant or whatever else section. Protestant. But I mean no disrespect here, but I mean, not like, well, I don't know the names of them, Spokane, they have their own cemeteries up there. Usually a church or something of that nature. I don't know, forget I even said anything, but just judging by what's kind of around in our area, and Cynthia, I don't know if you can chime in here. A lot of it was around the $700 to $800 range for a plot.
And they were doing an inventory of all the other little small towns around
Mhm.
charges because they felt that they were too low. And so anyway, I gave her all of ours, and she said, "You're the lowest."
What were they currently charging at the
They
time?
were double for
Okay.
their lots,
And they thought they were too low.
and they
Okay.
thought they were too low.
Well, judging by what I've found researching different places, anyways, that's kind of the average right there. You know, between 700 and 800 for a plot.
Our opening and closing seem to be
Mhm.
they're constructed in a way that if you're during the week up until Thursday, or actually up until Friday, it's good. If it's on a weekend, it's more. So it's like only $50 more for a weekend. So those didn't seem to be a problem. It's just the actual lots
The plot.
that you would get. And then opening and
Or a
closings,
niche.
for ashes or less than opening and closings for full body. Those seem to be okay. The niches also needed to be raised a little bit. But
What was Ritzville's? What was Ritzville's?
she didn't say, I believe she kind of alluded to the fact that they were around 800.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that
and ours
seems-
are 375.
Would you go?
Just off the top of anybody's head, do you know how many of those are still open?
I was just gonna ask that. Do,
'Cause I think
I mean,
Here's the
we
thing.
know
Full
we've
list
got a
of
lot
all.
of land
If we
available,
buy
but
it
do you know how many
and
niches?
Moeller buys it,
We have
and
them.
Spokane buys it. We're probably all buying them from the same company.
We're all laying
I'm on contract to put in concrete, like in.
But they're
theory,
not packed
why
already. We're not
should
looking at one or
niche
two
in Spokane
spaces.
be more, because they're not using up valuable land so much. Really, a niche should be probably the same value
Right.
no matter where you go.
And when you run out, you have to build a bigger niche.
Yeah. Or add another, whole nother.
Yeah. I don't think they're cheap.
I doubt it.
Me too.
Road trip.
So look in the vault.
Oh, that's gross.
Look in the vault. You see those safety deposit boxes? You see those safety deposit
Yeah.
boxes? That's
Just
where
open
they
the
kept
drawer
all
and-
of the former US Bank employees.
For, like real bodies, not,
No, just the ashes. We had to
Oh.
vacuum them all out when we moved in here.
oh,
Okay, so my
Okay.
hyena joke is not
I'll
nearly
be
as
gone, I
bad
don't have to worry
anymore.
about it.
It's been
I appreciate your humor, Stephen.
Thank you.
So what you did get, they were looking to raise their prices, Cynthia?
Yeah, they were gonna raise their prices because so many other towns, were higher. I always felt probably if we just doubled our 375, probably would be somewhere in the wrong range.
Okay, well, here's what I proposed for, I had written down, judging by the numbers of research, is the grave space is somewhere between 700 and 800. And the niche spaces, they were spendy around, so I proposed 1,000 for those. We could come down from that. I don't,
From 450 to 1,000.
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just be
That's what-
sprinkled.
So if you just double it, it's 900. You double the grave
I'd go
space, that's
750.
700.
Mm-hmm.
700 and 900.
Okay.
Well, if you think about the niche space that's there, I mean, we'd have to go look, but it could be half full, it could be 3/4 full. The 350 or 450 now is gonna feel insanely cheap when we have to look at installing another one to accommodate the next person.
For the little
No,
Drawers.
no, to build a new chest of drawers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure it's something that's bought and brought in,
Oh, yeah.
just installed on a little slab. It's
And
Oh, yeah.
probably
I'm
all
sure they're
pretty-
gonna honk you for, because you don't custom build those. I'm sure there's a very few companies and they have a near monopoly and they'll charge you.
I
A
can't
lot.
remember how long ago it was the last time we bought one of those, but they're not cheap. They weren't then.
So my question is if we raise the cost of these things, where is the extra money gonna go? Is it gonna go like into the budget for the city
It goes
or
into
to,
the
to
endowment.
take care of,
Mm.
to the endowment or take care of the
Well-
cemetery?
Well, I think that goes directly to the city, doesn't it, for maintaining the, it's part of
Well,
our
s-
expenses of operating the.
Well, the
Well, no,
opening and the
no.
closing and so on, but
No,
The
it
same
goes
would
into
be the-
sales. If
It-
we're selling lots, it's going to
Go ahead.
sales.
But sales goes to endowment?
No,
There's
Oh,
there's a
okay,
certain
good.
portion in
there
a,
is.
I hope it doesn't go to endowment.
there is supposed to be a certain portion go to the endowment.
Well, we'd have to
Not
look
of
at what those
sales,
were
though.
set up.
Oh, not as, well, yeah.
Really? That's news to me.
You leaving, Tim?
Now, we were going
Taking his
through
drug
that,
and
there were
going
certain
home.
things that were
Thanks for coming.
going to feed the endowment.
Tell 'em tomorrow.
Well, my concern is I think the city can always
Most of the
choose
garbage
to
is
move
tin.
money into
Did
the
you catch
endowment,
that?
but we can't we can never remove
So-
money from it. So I would prefer
So
that all the sales would end up
3
by
tins
default
for lunch.
not in the endowment, and then if we wanted to make a budget amendment at the end to move funds into the endowment voluntarily, we could take that option. But if we automatically put it in, we can never undo it.
But it only benefits us, it's the,
I just don't want to make money on dead people and their grief of
No.
the their relatives and so on. And this is a town that has a lot of retired people and older people.
Well, and to put it into context, if I'm understanding this correctly, if we do the prices we're proposing here, we would still be the cheapest in the area. We
Yeah,
could
but-
double our prices and still be the cheapest. in
Well,
the
but
area.
being cheap and doing the right thing by, that's a smaller area, the cost of things isn't as expensive sometimes.
I don't
Well-
feel, I don't feel we'll be the smallest area. If at these prices, you're gonna have people
But, well,
bombarded.
but here's the thing, the trees up there cost money to maintain. The lawn up there costs money to maintain. The sprinkler system up there costs money to maintain. A little sign to say where everyone's buried costs money to maintain.
Kiosk,
The
whatever.
the kiosk, yeah, thank you. The roads cost money to maintain. All of that we, as the caretaker of the cemetery, have to pay for. So similarly to the garbage, I mean, we're subsidizing. We have three main areas of subsidy. We subsidize garbage, we subsidize the cemetery, and we subsidize the library.
So how much did we subsidize in the last year?
Well, to get
Quite a
into-
bit.
I mean, in the last.
I don't know how many people have been planted or put in the drawer in the last year, but just,
We just spent 24,000 and removing trees.
you know,
Okay, no, that's not my question. My question is, how many people were planted or put into drawers last year? So how much money did the city get?
I'm gonna say 8 or 10.
This
See,
year?
people
Yeah.
bought their
Yeah,
lots.
Quite a few, it's been busy.
Okay, so people have purchased their lots in the past and,
Yes.
Some have and some
And
haven't.
some just bought new. I mean, it's been like 1 or 2 a week where people have been buying new plots.
And after
Well-
talking about this, it'll probably be a lot more
I
tomorrow.
already had a lady that I talked to who once lived here when she was in Oregon. And she decided that she was going to buy one up here. And she said, "What are they running now?" And I was telling her about it, and she said, "Oh, that's cheap." And I said, "Well, we are looking into maybe increasing them." And she said, "Can you wait till I get my lot?" So, I mean,
give her a call.
Well-
she probably knows what they are down in Oregon.
Yeah.
Because she's looked around.
Well, but the crazy thing about this is you buy a plot of land anywhere, any price,
That's right.
and there's the expectation that it will be maintained forever.
Perpetually.
Forever.
In perpetuity.
That's what it is.
Right?
yeah.
The grass will be watered and cut forever. If there's a sinkage, which if you go up to that cemetery, you'll see sinkages in place, it'll get filled and corrected forever. And it doesn't matter how much wages go up, and it doesn't matter how much water goes up, and it doesn't matter how much fertilizer and gas to mow it goes up. We expect it'll be maintained forever. And to think about for a sec that $350 buys you a space that you can expect is gonna be maintained for 1,000 years is crazy.
No, you're very right. I've got a little brother that's been intern for 60 years now. In Everett. And that place is, I mean, it's perfect, like you said. It's maintained to this day.
Everett, Washington, it depends on which cemetery, but theirs is, for a plot there is over $3,700.
Yep, I'm not surprised.
That's
And
the
that-
average.
There's probably a lot of people who have bought plots decades ago. I mean, you think about it, there are probably plots there that people might have paid less than $200 for that still aren't in yet.
The current rates are 2016, is that what I saw?
Yeah.
So anybody who's thinking about investing in land, Be advised, you cannot sell those lots, you have to sell them back to us, and we pay only, seems to me,
De minimis.
it is,
De minimis.
yes, right, but you have to, you just can't go on the open market, in other words, buy 10 of them.
Is that
Sell 'em.
just for here?
You can't
or
put 'em
because
on
I-
eBay.
I see advertisements for people all the time that are selling plots.
Our cemetery's not that way. You
Okay,
can't
so
go
it's
on-
just here.
That's why I said
Yeah,
it's
okay.
not private or.
It's not a thing where somebody's going to make money.
Timeshare
This
deal.
is not an inside,
Timeshare.
inside trader information.
So
And you can't
are the
evict
chunks of dirt sold by name then?
No, they're numbers, they're spots.
Okay.
There's 5 in a row, and then there's alleys, and there's sections and spots.
This just piqued my curiosity, because if you die and your family decides to do something else with you, but they still own the plot,
Yeah, what do you do?
can they like
says
take the
16,
next family member
everything's
down the
gone up
line
at
and
least
plant them there?
50%.
Okay.
Of course.
No, I was just curious about that.
Could I be
I-
excommunicated
I
out of
can't
the
feel
spot?
bad about anybody
Well, I'm not
that
gonna
still
have a
puts
spot.
us to the
I'm not
lowest
either.
area.
Me neither.
I'm gonna be in a lake somewhere.
Lose sleep about
Gonna be blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'd go
gentlemen,
a little lower, but I'll vote yes on it.
Okay, well, I guess I'll make a motion to raise the current cemetery charges, the grave space to 800, and the niches to 975, and leave everything else alone. Leave it
Second.
as current.
so I've got a motion and a second to raise the grave space to 800 and the niche space to $975.
Would you
Is
re-
that correct?
would you entertain 900
For,
for the
Instead of nine-
niche, instead of 975?
I think we need to second it and discuss it.
oh, it's already been
Oh.
seconded.
Well, she's proposing a friendly amendment if
Yeah,
David
that's what I'm
chooses to
saying.
adopt.
Whatever. I'm getting tired. I'm winding down, you
Okay,
guys.
got it.
These late nights are getting to me.
So we're in discussion now, right?
Yes.
There's a
Oh,
motion
okay.
and seconded. When do these take effect after we voted? Immediately?
Immediately.
Okay. Sorry, just snapped my
So
fingers.
pull
on
out
the
your
microphone.
checkbook in the next 5 minutes if
Not-
you want.
I am not going in the dirt like that.
I go for that, but I wasn't going towards the $1,000 mark. I was for the 2,000 or 3,000.
Do we
So
know,
we can take a vote on this and solve this, or we can continue the discussion.
David just needs to decide whether he adopts that as a friendly amendment. or
I'd
not.
like to, we'll stay at 975.
Well, yeah, but that's
Okay.
I was just.
I was gonna say, that's not the number I heard in my ear,
I was
so.
gonna say, those decimal points in euros are,
It was supposed to be a
it is a comma.
Okay.
I'm good with as proposed, as motion.
So we've got a motion on the floor and a second. To make grave spaces 800 and niche spaces $975. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say the same.
Nay.
So motion passes 4-0-1.
410.
4-1-0,
Yeah.
excuse me.
I didn't vote. I'm abstaining on
Oh,
this
you
one
did?
for personal reasons, yes.
So 3.
1-1.
That was fun.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next thing on the agenda is additions to the agenda. The reason this was moved to this part of the agenda tonight is because we had plenty to get going. And so if you'd like to add to the agenda now, feel free.
I just have a quick comment that I'm going to send a link out this week, encouraging the council members to look at a bench. I mentioned a while back I found a potential grant with no, supposedly, and I'll keep pressing people, with no strings attached from a business that serves agricultural stuff. For this amount, they maybe just want a picture. I'll take care of all of the strings with, so that there's nothing on the clerks. But they would be willing to give us the amount to install a couple benches up there. So I'm gonna send out, the cemetery. So I'll send out a proposal of the bench that I think, try to look for something very low maintenance and durable that didn't look horrible. So I'm gonna send out a link for you guys to take a look at. And then in the future meeting, we can talk about whether that's what we want to chase.
Would they be movable, portable, so they can move in different
Up,
areas?
up to, I mean, we could either anchor them to like a chain or something, so we could move it around, or or we could pour a concrete area and anchor them. Either way, we should make sure that
I
they can't
guess
be
that's
walked
my
off with.
question is, where
Yeah.
do we put them? Where is not used space?
Well, these have anchor holes in them, so if we're not anchoring them to the concrete, we could put a concrete anchor and then just chain them
Sure.
to something, and then we could move that several locations, I guess, if we wanted to, but I think we have options.
But that way, no one's dragging them down to the park and throwing them through the wall of the bathrooms or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay. There'll be no clerk's report tonight. Clerk's been extremely busy this week. Mayor's comments. Here, a couple of weeks ago, we had a company who was doing underground drilling up near our water tank, and 2 water lines were pierced that day, which caused at least 8 houses to be out of water for about 24 hours, some of them 48 hours. After that, I got hold of the young man who was drilling underground, and I told him that he cannot drill in the town of Harrington anywhere until further notice. So they have stopped all drilling, because I told him I didn't care if it was or was not located or anything else. It's unacceptable to be drilling through our water lines 2 in one day and then just move to the next block and keep going. So I've been in contact with our county commissioner, who is in charge of that job. We hired DW Excavation to come. At the time, Cassler was gone, and we had 1 public works man, and it requires 2 just to take our truck out, so there was a volunteer that helped with that. And we hired DW, who I called at 5 a.m. in the morning, and at 9 o'clock they were here with a crew. And they were here until it was fixed. And that was about $6,000, I think, which the county commissioner said he would pay for. That hasn't been done yet, and I was talking to Margie Fall today, and they're still trying to figure out which account they're going to get that money from. But the plan is that they're going to pay the contractor that we had to hire to come in and help us repair that water line, which is over and done now, and things are put back 80% back to where they are. We still got some landscaping. We got a fence to put around that tank. But at any rate, that was done. Next thing we're working on is the Coalition building down there. We're working with the county on a lease agreement. Our lawyer has the lease agreement they propose, and as you can imagine, he didn't agree with everything the county said. So we're working through those issues, and that's still in the process. And I think that's about it at the moment, I think. I didn't write much down. Public
I
comments?
think we heard that already.
No.
Yeah.
No public comments tonight.
We wore them out.
Move to adjourn.
Oh,
Did anybody look, there was a letter sent out. It was actually it came in the form of a incident request form, I believe, is how it was sent out. One of our constituents made a complaint, and it's going to be
Yeah.
an incident request form, but we have some situations that are going down in our town that we're going to have to deal code enforcement. And some of them are not
Pretty.
friendly, or they're just things we're gonna have to deal with. And council's gonna have to help out with some of this, put some teeth behind some of this stuff. 'Cause
You-
we
you
don't
have that
have
letter?
any way to enforce any of our codes.
There's no point in
Then
having
we
them.
become the wild, wild west.
Well, there's so many lawns that are waist deep in weeds. There's junk laying all over.
Yeah.
You know,
Agreed.
again, that one guy that lives next to me, there's a pickup that was in his name, and it's piled high of junk. And there are weeds that are growing all the way around it. It's very
Let's
nasty.
see.
Yeah.
I never got that one.
Well, there's an ordinance against that.
Yeah.
And I think the,
Enforcing it,
You can,
was-
I
It was sent
have
to
reports,
council. I think we
and
should,
they have them
but-
here too. You can come in, fill out an incident request form, and you can, as these people who made this one out wish to be,
I think the goats are gone, so I don't have,
you think they are,
well, I haven't seen any, and I haven't heard them.
the goats?
The goats. The goats down across from the post office.
I never hear them.
I never
No,
saw
I
it.
never
Oh, I
any
heard
other-
them. That's,
Actually, they're pretty good neighbors, I think. They pretty well
well, I
pick
don't
up.
mind farm animals, just as long as they clean up after them.
Well, but the reality
I don't
is
even know
technically
they're
they're
there.
wrong
Other kinds
too.
of rodents,
It's-
so I don't really want any farm
Yeah.
animals.
My freezer's full.
Okay. So, other than that, that's the extent of it. Anybody else have anything they wanna bring up? Steve and I wanna speak to you just for a minute before you go. I'm going to leave you with a piece of information, and
I will just, I'll make it very fast. I've got the bones of an insurance ordinance put on paper, well, written down. I've contacted the risk management at AWC to find out what they found is important that needs to be implemented into this. And I guess the big question is to the council, do you want to read this before it goes to the attorney? Or just,
When you say insurance ordinance,
basically for situations like people operating in their rights of way or what have you, it establishes a clear expectation, or even the contractors that we're using, like the, like
DW.
DW or our lawn guy. There's no standard and there's no, we assume they have insurance, but
Yeah, this
there's
was,
no reporting thing. It just,
this came out of the contract with the county. When we were,
Yes.
when we were reviewing that for items that we could adjust from that contract, and the contract said that everyone would have to abide by the insurance policies set by the city, and then we kind of concluded that the city doesn't really have any insurance policies, so because that contract stipulates that we get to set that, this would be setting that.
and most small municipalities don't. So, but I had a great conversation with the attorney for Spokane Valley, and he shared with me their information that they do, which wasn't perfect. It was kind of a chuckle. We found some
is
deficiencies
this
in their.
a policy that we're purchasing?
No,
Or-
no, this
or
is an
you're talking
ordinance for
about an
people,
ordinance to-
an ordinance
Oh, okay.
that governs the people that work in Harrington, either for us or working in the city right-of-ways.
Does it, how about vendors and of that nature, or parades, or? I think
Pretty
that-
much, I want it to be broad sweeping so that, yes, depending on how they are using the city property,
Right.
how their insurance policy exists, and how it's gonna protect the city in case something goes wrong.
That was a situation a few years ago.
Yeah, so I want those to be addressed, so heaven forbid if it does come up, we all
Cover.
know, where the cards are.
Right.
So,
I like it.
I'm drafting that, working on it, so.
I'm happy enough to see it after being amended. It's just me.
Sounds good, could use some clarity around here. Or regularly ask questions that we can't answer.
Is there any, to answer one of your prior questions about the ordinance, the nuisance ordinance, the issues, I mean, what exactly, well, let me rephrase that. Has there been problems with our code enforcement officer? He's got a lot of pushback.
Only with a couple individuals, started out good and then,
It's the Wild West again.
yeah, went awry when other constituents got involved, not knowing what had happened. When they shouldn't have got involved. We'd already crossed all the Ts and dotted the Is, and they thought we were enforcing from the Wild West, and we weren't. So,
Okay.
Do we need to revisit the prosecutor's office on what they feel that can be done with city ordinances? Because it's not, it can't be just us. There has to be other cities having the same heartburn.
I bet there is. I didn't go to this week's mayor's meeting, but. Yeah, I bet everybody is. And I think they'll probably get a little support
From the sheriff's
from
office?
the powers that are above us. We need to try and initiate getting these prompted, we're gonna put on May Road.
So you found that, found that a little difficult to deal with our contracted services. They don't fulfill, or they're a little hard to,
Well, a
Let's
couple
say-
times we've had dog incidences,
Yeah.
you know, those turn out to be civil issues, almost none of them are anything the police will get involved with.
okay,
It's a good place to visit right there.
got it. Levi, you're up.
Already did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Second? Okay, yeah.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned at 9:13.
You guys are trying to take